So without further ado, our next speaker is Brooke Mason, speaking about engineering for climate action. She is a civil engineering PhD student. In the era of the self-driving car, her goal is to bring the same technologies to water systems. In her department, she serves as a peer mentor, a member of the Graduate Student Advisory Council, and a member of CEDAR, a student group working on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. So, Brooke, do you think I've summed it all up for you? Is there anything you want to add in?
No, that sounds perfect.
Awesome. Then let's get started. So, Brooke, tell us, what got you doing what you are doing? Like, what inspired you to do it?
Yeah, I think unlike you guys, when I was growing up, there were still questions about if climate change was real and if there were human impacts. And it wasn't until I went to college that I realized sort of my eyes were opened up to these to environmental devastation, climate change, and I was going to study art education and realized that in order for like art to survive, humanity needed to survive, and so I switched my major to focus in on environmental issues. I studied environmental policy first and then realized that maybe I was better suited to engineer the solutions. And so, now I'm in the fourth year of my PhD working on sustainable water solutions using the newest technology. And I think, I work a lot on things that are in the news all the time, flooding and water quality issues as it relates to like stormwater, when it rains and what happens to that water. And we haven't done a very good job of managing that anywhere in the globe. And so, I'm really excited to think about how do we use technology to mitigate flooding, improve water quality, and sort of make more equitable water solutions for everyone.
Perfect. Truly inspiring, honestly, how you switched degrees because of one minor thought and you actually took that up as your career. That is something I'm still considering on. All right, so moving on. Next question. How do you think young people really could use engineering in climate action? I mean, at this point, we've seen global warming and a lot of its side effects. And as a young generation, we've also been affected by it. So, what is your piece of advice?
Yeah, I think we need so many people to enter STEM engineering, maybe specifically to think about how we can make new solutions. Like at this point, there are impacts to climate change, as you said, that we have to deal with now, right? So a big part of it is going to be mitigation and adaptation, to these impacts. And so that's where I think engineering can come in. But historically, engineering has been dominated by white males, and so we know that diverse solution, that the best solutions tends to be those created by diverse groups of people. And so it's super important that we get sort of everyone involved in sort of designing solutions, and the solutions, although maybe similar in some places, can be completely unique to geographic locations. And so it's really important that we think about how can we sort of engineer solutions for our home areas, and then think about how we can maybe adapt those for other areas. I think there are so many options in engineering, whether that's thinking about engineering better battery solutions for renewable energies, thinking about better renewable energy solutions. In my area, thinking about water and water sustainability. Water is precious. We really need to think about how do we protect and keep clean water for everyone. And so, it's so hard to like wrap it all into one. But if you can think about pretty much any climate change problem, we can think about engineered solutions. And so, I really encourage you, if if you're interested in engineering, to really like think about that as a potential career option.
Of course, point taken. So now that you've explained to us how engineering affects climate action, what do you think engineering is? How do you think engineering is important, all in all, at this point? Not only in the spectrum of climate action, all in all. What do you think about its benefits? What do you think about its effects? What do you think? How do you think it could change the world? Most probably.
Yeah. Yeah, good question. I think, pretty much everything we touch in our daily lives are engineered solutions by, a different type of engineering, whether that's the roads we're on, the planes we're in, the buildings we're in, the water we drink. So, engineering is incredibly important, which is why, again, I think it's so important that we bring diverse voices into the conversation as we think about how do we engineer solutions. I don't think engineering is the end all solution. I think at the end of the day, we need to consume less. We need to use less. We need to think about, that at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, I think. But, at some point, humans are humans. And so we need to be realistic and think about how do we do both. And so, engineering allows us to create solutions to sort of mitigate impacts, to adapt to the impacts of climate change, and maybe create new solutions to minimize our impact as well. Um, and so I think it's incredibly important, but not the only solution for sure.
Perfect. I think you wrapped it all up. So, another quick question. What were some of the hurdles that you had to go through while achieving what you had to do? I mean, everyone goes through some sort of struggle throughout their journey. So, what was your story?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, engineering isn't easy. So it's a lot of math, a lot of physics, a lot of science, chemistry, depending on which area you're in. And so there's a lot of studying, a lot of work, and there were many times where an imposter syndrome is real. When you think you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, and so you have to sort of step back and think. Sure, I have limitations, but I can do things to overcome those limitations. I can find support groups, find friends to study with, for example, to get you through. But I sort of really leaned into the fact that I bring a diverse perspective to these solutions, and so my voice is needed, and so that sort of helps combat that imposter syndrome as you're going through that journey. And there's still challenges today. Research can be really tedious, if you go on to get advanced degrees. And so sometimes you get lost in the weeds and you have to sort of step back and sort of look at the full picture of, why am I really doing this? Right. When I'm in the weeds of reading literature and doing things that maybe don't seem like, how is this improving the world? Stepping back and thinking about how is what I'm doing really, a piece of the puzzle. And that sort of really helps me get through as well.
Wonderful. All right. So, quick question. What do you aim to do next? I mean, we've already heard what you've done so far, but is there anything else you have not done and that you hope to do in the future, the near future?
Yeah, so hopefully finishing my PhD. But my research has really just started to scratch the surface on how can we improve water quality with these technologies. And so I'm really hoping to see how can we um, move that to the system scale. So I focused really on maybe site scale, smaller water quality problems. But how do we engineer solutions for entire watersheds, for entire urban areas, and how do those how much impact can we make with those kinds of solutions? After my PhD, I'm not really sure exactly what I want to do next, but I know I want to focus still on climate action and sustainability. How can we, make the biggest impact we can? And I'm a little bit older than you guys, so I'm really excited to see what all of you guys do. I think a big part of what I will do is mentorship of younger, of your generation to help you guys sort of achieve what my generation still hasn't been able to do. And so, I'm really excited to work hand in hand with, we need people of all ages and of all backgrounds to really solve climate change.
That sounds super exciting. We really do need the support and experience of that of the older generations, so that'd be great. And this one might be a little fun question, but if you had infinite time, money, and resources, what would you do?
Oh man, that would be amazing, right? We'd be able to solve all the problems. I think one, I would have to find a good team because if I have infinite time and resources, we don't have infinite time to solve climate change. So I would need to gather all of you amazing people on this call together so we can figure out how to solve these things. I think I would focus on water because that's where my expertise is now, but I would find all the experts in the other areas in energy and carbon sequestration and other all the other areas we need to think about as we think about climate change. Amass a team and just sort of like hit the ground running and solving these problems. And that would be amazing. I don't know, even if as one person, we still have to think about how do we combat, giant corporations still trying to, destroy this planet. And so, it would still be an uphill battle, but I think we could make a big dent.
Perfect. That sounds indeed very doable. All right. So before we finish off, if you could give any advice to another young person, I mean, obviously, we do need your experience. We do need what you guys like, something you have not done. What would your advice be to our younger generation?
Yeah. I think to not give up or compromise as much maybe as past generations have done. At this point, we are at a point where we can't compromise too much. Otherwise we're gonna, destroy this planet. And so I think take your passion, take what you know to be true. And I'm getting emotional thinking about it. That take whatever you're passionate about and go for it. And even if, I went to back to school a few years after I had finished my environmental policy degree, because I realized that I was suited to be an engineer. And so, it's never too late to maybe change your path to figure out where you're passionate about and where you want to make a difference, and really just go for it. And don't let people tell you no. I had so many people tell me no throughout my journey, and I just sort of always pushed back. And so, just sort of take that and run with it. Know that what you're doing is going to, help all the generations after you. And so, just take it and run with it. And then don't take no for an answer. Maybe find a different way. If they say no, find a different path, right? But don't take the no. And really, I hope you guys can just do what every generation before you hasn't been able to do, and that is like really find an equitable, sustainable future for everyone.
Honestly, this has been deep motivation. I'm not even going to lie. It's been wonderful having you here. Thank you so very much for joining us here at the summit and for answering our questions. And attendees, please do check the chat box to find out where you can meet Brooke after the summit in order to keep in touch with her, or if you have any questions, or even if you want to partner up with her in the future. So to keep track of the chat. Thank you so much, Brooke.